Hi friends, in this lecture we will discuss about public key cryptographic primitives and their different applications. We have seen data security elements like data confidentiality, data integrity and data authentication with the help of symmetric key cryptographic primitives. Now we will see how different security properties can be achieved using public key cryptographic primitives. In symmetric cryptography, we have seen that one key, that is symmetric key, is used for encryption and decryption. Whereas in public cryptography, a pair of keys, a public key and a corresponding private key which are mathematically related, is used for public key operation. In this, the public key is used for encryption and signature verification, whereas the private key is used for decryption and signature generation. We will find a large number of real world applications where public key cryptography operations are being used widely. Just like symmetric cryptography, a public key cryptography can also offer data encryption, authentication and integrity. But in addition to that, public key cryptography operations can also provide non-repetition, anonymity and some other different data security properties. We should also know that public key cryptography algorithms can offer all these security objectives, but with additional computational cost as compared to symmetric cryptography operations. In short, public key cryptography operations are more expensive as compared to symmetric key operations. For example, the data confidentiality, one can opt for symmetric key encryption, and for authentication one can use public key operation like digital signature, or one can also use symmetric key operation like message authentication code. So, choice is given to the application service provider, and based on the application's requirement, one can use public key operation or symmetric key operation or a combination of these two. Let us first see how public key encryption decryption performs. In this, a key pair of public key and a corresponding private key is used. The public key will be used for encryption purpose and the corresponding private key will be used for decryption. Now, let us see how it works. Assume that Alice and Bob are at two different places. Alice wants to send a message in a confidential manner, and two of them are going to apply encryption decryption operation using public key cryptography. So, here Alice will have a key pair of a public key and a private key, and similarly Bob will also have such a key pair. The public keys are publicly available. In other words, Alice knows Bob's public key and Bob knows Alice's public key, and they would keep their private keys as a secret with themselves. Now, since their public keys are known to each other, Alice can select a message and it will be encrypted with Bob's public key. After that, Alice will send that encrypted message to Bob, who can decrypt it using his private key. Similarly, if Bob wants to send a confidential manner, he can encrypt his message using Alice's public key, and then Alice will decrypt using her private key. Today, we have a large number of algorithms in literature, out of which one of the most widely used public key encryption algorithms is RSA. Another public key operation is signature generation and signature verification. Now, let us try to understand this, and with the same example that Alice wants to send a signed document to Bob. Now, here a signature will be generated using Alice's private key, and that signature will get verified using corresponding public key. So, Alice can generate her signature using her private key, and then she can send that signed document to Bob. After receiving the document, since Bob knows Alice's public key, he can verify whether that signature is genuine or it is forged. If the verification is successful, then Bob will accept Alice's signature as a valid signature. Here one can use RSA or DSA or any other signature algorithm. Different signature algorithms will rely on different mathematical or computational operations. Now, from this you can see that by using encryption or by using signature, authenticity of document can be provided. Using public key encryption, data confidentiality can be achieved, but for large data, one may not prefer to use public key encryption because it is expensive in comparison to symmetric key encryption. So, for large data encryption, one should go with symmetric key encryption algorithm, but for confidentiality of a short message, Since the key size is small, one can use public key encryption algorithm. Now, in this, public key is basically a string of bits. So, it does not carry any identity or any information about who owns it. For that, one operation or one infrastructure is managed, which is called public key infrastructure. So, this public infrastructure is supposed to manage all users, servers or entities public keys, and these public keys are basically public key certificates. So, there will be a trusted authority who will issue public key certificates to various entities. Now, what is the certificate? It is basically a digitally signed key. For example, your public key is going to be signed by a trusted authority and a certifying authority, and that will be verified at any place because it is digitally signed, and it will get verified with the trusted authorities or certifying authorities public key. Now, to manage a large number of public keys, a public key infrastructure is required. It is a set of hardware, software, people, policies and procedures. All these are part of that infrastructure which is responsible to generate, distribute, store and revoke public key certificates. This public key infrastructure is basically an arrangement that provides an authentication of the entity's identity or their public key identity certificate to a third party. Most widely used certification practice is based on X509 version 3 standard. This X509 version 3 gives us 7 mandatory fields: serial number of the certificate, version of the certificate, signature algorithm which is used for creating that certificate, the name of the owner of that certificate, that is the subject name, validity period of the certificate, the name of the issuer of the certificate or the certifying authority's information, the owner's public key. For the serial number, you will have a unique serial number. For version of the certificate, you will have version 1, 2, 3, etc. Signature algorithm could be RSA or DSA. Subject name will have the owner's name or his email ID or some common name must be there. Validity period could be 1 year, 2 year, etc. That is the time period for which the certificate is valid. Then there would be certifying authorities information, who is the issuer of the certificate or who is responsible to manage that public key infrastructure for all issued certificate. And finally, there should be the public key of the owner. Now, typically this infrastructure consists of 4 entities. One entity is the certifying authority who is responsible for issuing all certificates. Second, its designated agent or delegated entity which is the registration authority. Third, the certifying authority's depository where you will find all revoked certificates whose validity has been expired. If a certificate has been revoked, then its public key should not be used for any real world application. Fourth, the user or the owner of the certificate. The certifying authority will have the primary responsibility here. It issues certificates and it manages them. It must revoke certificates after their validity has expired or if that certificate is blacklisted. And all such related information, that is the policies, procedures, etc. The registration authority is basically a delegated agent which is delegated by the certifying authority. To reduce administrative responsibility, the certifying authority can have a number of registration authorities who will basically verify legalities of the certificate request. It will collect the certificate cost. It will provide all relevant information to the user, and finally, it will help the certifying authorities to provide or to verify credentials of the user and collection of fee, etc. After that, the certifying authority will generate public key certificate for the user. Now, here we can see that have a user that is a subscriber, we have a registration authority and we have a certifying authority. So, the user will basically request a certificate. then the certifying authority will ask the user to submit their credentials or documents to any nearby registration authority. Now, the subscriber or user will submit their credentials, and if they are found correct, then the registration authority will provide password to the subscriber, and it will also be forwarded to the certifying authority. After that, the subscriber will submit a request for the public key certificate, and the certifying authority will generate the certificate. The subscriber will also provide the password which he got from the registration authority. If the certifying authority can see the same password, then they will generate the public key certificate and it will be given to the user. At the same time, the depository will have information that this certificate is issued to the user, and the depository is going to be live continuously. So, the merchant or relying party will consult the depository to see whether the certificate is valid or revoked. Now, for the operation to check the revocation of the certificate, two approaches are in place. First, certificate revocation list, or what we call as CRL, online certificate status protocol, or OCSP. In CRL, a list is aggregated. Usually, it is very long, and hence the search operation will take a long time. It is a bit expensive for real time certificate status checking. Also, if the revocation list is not available, then the relying party will not be able to check the status of the certificate. In contrast, OCSP is basically a fresh approach by which any relying party can check a given certificate's status whether it is valid or it is revoked. So, for that, the relying party will consult the OCSP server, and that server will basically verify whether the certificate is valid or not. Using this real time checking of freshness of the certificate, the relying party will consider that it will accept the given public key certificate or it is not found to be valid. Then the relying party will discard that operation which is using that public key certificate. Now, we can see that a public key operation will provide data confidentiality, data authentication and data integrity. It can also provide non-repetition, or one cannot deny that he has previously committed that operation. For example, if you have made a payment to a merchant, then he cannot deny that he has gotten the payment. You will have a receipt by which you can prove that the payment has been made to the particular merchant. In this way, non-repetition can be provided using public key cryptography operation. Anonymity can also be provided using public key cryptography operation. It can also be used for digital signature to provide authentication, for anonymous signature to provide anonymity, for digital signature to provide data integrity. And for data confidentiality or for short message confidentiality, primarily it is used for key establishment. In one of the examples above, we saw that both the communicating parties, Alice and Bob, had to share the same secret key. In order to share the key among the communicating parties, public key encryption algorithm is very effective. So, Alice can use Bob's public key and Bob can decrypt that encrypted message using his private key. They are not required to use any secure channel for sharing the secret key. Using the public channel, both Alice and Bob can establish a common secret key using public key encryption algorithm. With this, we can see that for data security, the three elements of data confidentiality, data authenticity and data integrity play a very important role, and one can achieve them using either the symmetric key cryptography algorithm or the public key cryptography algorithm. So, based on the application's requirement, one has to select the right primitive for that particular application, or one has to decide that which cryptographic operation will provide the intended security, and for that one can select different cryptographic algorithms available in the literature. So, based on the application's requirement, one has to select the right primitive for that particular application, or one has to decide that which cryptographic operation will provide the intended security, and for that one can select different cryptographic algorithms available in the literature. You can see various real world applications in which public cryptography operation or symmetric cryptography operation or a combination of both of them is used.